All right, let's dive right in and explore how AI is completely rewriting the rules of product management. If you work in tech, you know the exact feeling I'm talking about. The traditional development frameworks we have relied on for years are suddenly cracking under the weight of artificial intelligence. In this explainer, we're going to uncover exactly why that is and how to adapt your processes so you and your products don't get left in the dust.
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? Teams that consistently ship absolutely flawless software are suddenly hitting a brick wall when it comes to launching AI features. We're seeing it everywhere. Projects are stalling, models aren't meeting user expectations, or features are just totally missing the mark. And the root cause lies entirely in how these teams are handling the foundational concepts of discovery and delivery when the technology itself becomes fundamentally uncertain.
Now, if we look at the contrast here, we're moving away from the predictable, binary world of traditional coding, where a feature basically either works or it doesn't, right, to the unpredictable, continuous, and probabilistic world of AI. AI isn't just a shiny new tool. It introduces a completely different axis of scientific uncertainty, and that demands a massive shift in how we actually build things.
So, in this explainer, here is how we're going to unpack this whole paradigm shift. We'll start with the dual-track dilemma, see how AI breaks the mold, dive into the 3 discovery loops, look at some real-world AI examples, redefine AI delivery, and finally, pinpoint the true value bottleneck.
Okay, starting off with Section 1, the dual-track dilemma. Let's look at how standard PM frameworks operate.
Traditionally, we've relied pretty heavily on the dual-track model. You've got these 2 parallel, continuous tracks running. Discovery is all about rigorously answering what to build to reduce value and usability risk well before engineers write a single line of code. Delivery is about figuring out how to build it with predictable velocity. And honestly, when the underlying tech is deterministic, this model works like an absolute charm.
But moving into Section 2, AI breaks the mold. Suddenly, we're dealing with a brand new axis of uncertainty.
So what actually happens when technical feasibility isn't a sure thing anymore? Well, take a look at this assumption stack. AI teams so often fail because they skip right past a foundational problem and solution layers and jump straight to layer 3, feasibility. They start running all these massive machine learning experiments before validating the basics. The result? You end up with technically brilliant models for problems that users literally do not have or don't want solved by AI.
Which brings us to Section 3. The 3 discovery loops. We need a totally new operating framework here.
Because we're managing this intense scientific uncertainty, one broad discovery track just doesn't cut it anymore. We actually need 3 continuous asynchronous discovery loops. First up, a user discovery loop running on a weekly tempo, nailing down the exact job to be done. Second, a technical feasibility loop on a sprint tempo to find your minimum viable quality. And third, a value delivery loop post-launch to measure actual user trust. Your user discovery has to explicitly define the quality thresholds that your engineering team is aiming for.
To pull this off effectively, you need AI-specific methods. Literally, before you burn a single GPU cycle building complex models, you can test desirability for 0 technical cost using Wizard of Oz prototyping. You know, having a human secretly simulate the AI's output behind the scenes. You should also run error taxonomy workshops to map out exactly what failure looks like and build synthetic tasks to test just how much accuracy users need before they completely lose trust.
Okay, let's ground this a bit. Section 4, real-world AI examples. Let's see how the best teams are actually applying this. Let's start with Intercom. When they decided to build their AI agent, Finn, they were staring down a massive technical feasibility risk right from day one. The user problem was super obvious. Support teams were completely overwhelmed. But the big question was, could an LLM actually be trusted to resolve real customer issues without just making things up and spitting out harmful hallucinations?
What they did was an absolute masterclass in alignment. For user discovery, they ruthlessly scoped their target to only the top 30% of highly repetitive queries. By doing that, they drastically lowered the technical feasibility hurdle. Then, for value delivery, they used a grounded RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation architecture, meaning the AI was restricted to only answering using the customer's own documentation, which guaranteed strict accuracy and trust.
There's a brilliant quote about this. Scoping the user discovery finding directly shaped the technical feasibility evaluation methodology. This is the 3-loop model working correctly. That right there is the ultimate PM lesson. Your user discovery loop absolutely must define the boundaries for your technical experiments. Intercom didn't just test their model on random queries, they tested it strictly on what user discovery proved actually mattered most.
Now, think about Spotify's Discover Weekly. They were wildly successful because they prioritized technical feasibility, then user desirability, and then trust calibration. They basically built continuous feedback right into the delivery track from the very beginning. That little hide song button wasn't just some afterthought, it was a core mechanism for the value delivery loop, proving that AI products require constant, active learning from users in production.
On the flip side, we have a bit of a cautionary tale with Amazon Alexa. They ran into a massive gap between their validated technical feasibility and how they actually positioned the product. They proved the tech worked for simple command and control stuff like setting a timer, but they marketed it as this general-purpose Ask Me Anything assistant. That created a huge expectation mismatch, which inevitably led to a breakdown in user trust and adoption.
All right, let's pivot to Section 5, redefining AI delivery. Because traditional sprint logic, it just doesn't fit here.
Traditional delivery is super binary. The code compiles, the tests pass, boom, the feature's done. But AI delivery operates on a continuous, iterative quality gradient. There is no discrete done state. You have to define a minimum viable threshold during discovery, and then you're constantly evaluating, is this model actually accurate enough to trust in production today?
And this leads to a devastating mistake a lot of teams make, treating the model itself as the final product. The model is literally just one piece of the puzzle. To actually ship an AI product, you need robust evaluation infrastructure to track degradation over time. You need to monitor production data, build in user feedback loops, and honestly, you absolutely must design graceful failure UX. Because the AI will make mistakes, and the user always needs a safe fallback.
Finally, let's jump to Section 6, the true value bottleneck. Let's look at how generative AI is entirely shifting our development constraints.
With AI agents radically automating the actual coding and building phases, delivery times are shrinking incredibly fast. That means the focus of your empowered product teams is going to drastically shift. We're talking about spending up to 90% of your time strictly on discovery. The real work becomes managing the ethical, legal, and economic viability, the truly complex risks of bringing AI to the market.
To survive this shift, teams need to adopt what's being called a definition of value artifact. Think of it like a definition of done, but it's a living, evolving document that clarifies the concrete outcomes you need to create. It forces your team to stay completely outcome-centric, measuring success by actual user outcomes, rather than just celebrating how many story points you managed to burn through in a single sprint.
Which brings us to the core thesis of this entire explainer, as this quote lays out beautifully. In the age of AI, building is no longer the bottleneck, defining value is. Since your capacity to literally just deliver code is exploding, figuring out exactly what to build and why you're building it is your new ultimate constraint. The cushion of having long development cycles is completely gone.
So I want to leave you with this provocative thought today. As AI empowers you to create features almost instantly, are you truly doing the hard work of discovering and solving real user problems, or are you just speeding up the feature factory? It is a massive question to chew on as we navigate this new era. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this framework helps you build much better, more impactful AI products.